Morning guys, Chris here. Already completed our kitchen faucet install for the morning. Now we're looking for an address to remove a toilet and replace the wax rings. Hopefully I can get you guys some video of that. It will all depend, because I'm in a 55 plus community and these people can be weird about things, so they may not be super open to me filming inside their house or whatever, you know. And I like to be respectful of people and their homes and everything, so we'll see. I got paid for the main water service job that we did. Man, I only got $2,350 for that. Not a good one for me, guys. Definitely not a good one. Here's the unit that we're looking for right here. Yeah, it's just rough day. Raining again. California rain sucks, man. It's not very common that we get rain here in California, and when we do, it just sucks. This causes nothing but problems. It's so hard to work in the rain here, because California is not really like set up for rain, right? So a lot of our stuff is not built for heavy rain. So shit starts flooding, mud, you know. People's got fucking white carpet through their entire house, entryway and all. It's crazy shit like that. Anyways, guys, I'm not trying to be super negative. We're gonna get this knocked out today. We're gonna make this a great day. We're gonna get through it together. So let's go check out this call with the wax rings and see what's going on.
Alright guys, so always make sure the water's off before you ever do any work on any plumbing fixture, okay? Believe me, it's always worth double checking. Just always make sure the water's off. So first I'm going to pop the bowl caps. I'm going to loosen the closet bowl nuts. Pop the nuts off. Remove the little bowl cap covers. And I always set them to the side. I set the left side to the left and the right side to the right. I set them both like kind of off to the sides, usually in the corners, just to kind of keep them out of the way and keep them, you know, in the area I need them to be when it's time to reinstall the toilet. So I use my shop vac. I always shop vac all the water out. I've seen some guys bail the water out with sponges, with buckets, cups. Steve Lav does it with like some little suction thing. Man, you guys should just use a shop vac, dude, or a wet dry vac. I have like 3 of them. Home Depot sells this little guy called a bucket head. Use that. Attach it to a 5-gallon, suck it out. So I pulled the toilet here because it was leaking. As you can see, the wax ring is discolored. There's some blackness around the wax. That indicates that it's been leaking for a while. The wax is that like grayish brown color, which, you know, it looks moist and like it's been wet for a long time. This is an upstairs neighbor that's leaking into the downstairs neighbor's unit. It's in a 55 plus community. So these people are already older, they're elderly, and you know, it's not a good thing when you get a leak like this, a waste leak into your ceiling for probably, who knows, months or whatever. So whenever I pull a toilet that's been leaking from the base, I always check to see if the line is clogged. Even if the customer says, oh yeah, the line's clear, I've been flushing shit out there for months, nothing's ever happened to me. Yeah, well, you never know. It could have just been flushing straight into your neighbor's ceiling, dude. So I always pour a 5-gallon bucket down to be sure You know, and I can tell typically by the sound of the drain, the way that it takes the water down, if there's a clog or partial clog, or if there's some type of problem. And if there is a problem, we'll go from there. We can camera it, we can snake it, we can do whatever. Whenever I pull a toilet, I always really clean up the area. I think it's really important to completely clean the area up underneath the toilet. Clean the wax ring, clean all of the wax off the flange and inside the flange, as you see me doing here. A little piece fell down inside and I'm having to grab it out. I always replace my closet bolts, guys. I mean, it's an extra, minute and a half or so, and look, I replace it. Sometimes on the plastic flanges, you can't see that the flange may be damaged or compromised in a way. And, until you pull the closet bolts, you figure out, oh, there's something wrong here. So, it's always good to replace your bolts. Sometimes, I've had this happen before where I used my last wax rings and I reused the closet bolts because I was being lazy. And I tightened the toilet down and the closet bolts snapped off because it was rotted away right where it meets the flange, and I didn't even, it's just shit like that. Honestly, what I found in my time in plumbing is just do it right the first time. Make sure that you cover your ass and think of every angle, and just honestly, once you touch something, you own it in plumbing. So make sure that you talk to the customer about every possible thing you can think of that could go wrong here. Whenever I go to pull a toilet, I always tell the customer, especially if the toilet's rocking, I tell the customer, hey, we may have to replace the flange here. One thing I do, I always use 2 wax rings on a second story. Always. I even use 2 wax rings on a first story normally, depending on how high the flange is. If the flange isn't above the floor, then I use 2 wax rings. If the flange is level with the floor, I use 2 wax rings. On the second floor, I always use 2 wax rings no matter what. And when I set my toilet, I make sure I feel that squish. I put my closet bolts back down with the washer. That's another thing, guys. I double bolt, my closet bolts. I bolt them to the flange and to the toilet. That's how you can tell a good plumber, guys. If you got a guy who's not using the double bolts, he's just a lazy guy. It just makes no sense. He's one of those guys who thinks, cutting a couple seconds off is going to save him time, and it just really doesn't. So I always make sure the toilet is sturdy. I reattach the supply line, turn the water on, fill the toilet up. I'm going to give it a couple flushes, clean up my area. I always like to make my work area look nicer when I leave than it did before I got there. That's like kind of my goal, and I've had many customers tell me that. So here I am, like, cleaning up the base of that toilet after doing the install. No more leak. We flushed it numerous times, went downstairs, made sure the lady downstairs didn't have any new water coming through her ceiling. I believe we referred her to our restoration company, and I was on my way to the next call, guys. So that's how you fix a leaking toilet, leaking from the base there. One thing I wanted to mention is when you're on a call like this, once you touch that toilet as a plumber, you own it. So make sure you recommend everything you see on that, and really look that toilet over. Like, see here, I'm tightening the seat. That's a courtesy to the customer. I'm not going to charge them to do that. That's just something I do when I notice things that are easy, that aren't going to take a lot of time or any parts out of my truck.